showing out, making moves, no doubt. FFA pride, it's what we're all about. From classroom dreams to real world flair, we got the stories you won't find anywhere. Beyond the jacket where the stories unfold, voices of the future, fearless and bold. Tune in now, let the passion ignite. It's more than a jacket, it's a way of life. Beyond the jacket where passion meets purpose.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Jacket, the podcast where we uncover the stories, passions, and purpose behind the blue corduroy. Today, we're heading to Travelers Rest, South Carolina, to meet a member whose journey proves that agriculture is far more diverse, creative, and innovative than most people realize. Jackson Jarvis grew up with a love for trial bikes, a sport built on precision, balance, and control. But as he got older, that passion transformed into something bigger. Let's dive into how a kid with a dirt bike grew into a young agricultural entrepreneur with big plans for the future. Well, this sounds super exciting. Jackson, hello. How the heck are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How about y'all?
We're so excited to have you on, Jackson, and hear about your SAE. Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
All right, so I'm Jackson Jarvis, obviously previously stated, but I live in Travelers Rest, South Carolina, and yeah, coming on here to show or tell about what I've done through my SAE and yeah, everything you want to know about it.
So right now, you're currently a senior at Travelers Rest FFA?
Yes, that's right. So I've been in the Travelers Rest FFA program for the last 4 years. Started with when I was a freshman, and have been pretty involved the entire time.
Okay, cool. That's nice. So hold on. We have to get right into this SAE because um so were you a kid that just grew up and you were like, I love dirt bikes, I love being outside, and then you somehow were like, how can I make this an SAE once you hit FFA?
Yeah, so basically it started, you could say, a long time ago. So ever since I was a kid, I've been riding dirt bikes. I mean, ever since I was quite literally 5 years old, my dad put me on a little dirt bike, and I've been riding around ever since, just for, as a hobby and for fun, right? But once I kind of gained skills in this 3D modeling and 3D printing type era or industry, I realized that okay, I love 3D modeling, I love 3D printing, I love machining, and I wanted to join these all together. So I decided to make a plan, right, where I want to make a shop now, right? It's like I want to be an entrepreneur where I make things for these bikes that I love using the skills which I love doing anyways.
Oh my gosh, this is fascinating to think that you could combine like 3D printing. I mean, they've done it with meat and things of that nature, but to be
Yeah.
able to trust your product and test drive it and things of that nature. What initially like drew you to the sport? I know you started when you were 5 and your dad kind of facilitated that, but what made you go all in, Jackson?
Well, I really do think what made me go all in is like this big looming thing that's like my future, right? It's like, okay, well, I'm a senior now. I guess I kind of did when I was a junior, but same idea, right? So it's like, it's coming, like, what am I going to do? Decide if I'm going to go to college, like, what am I going to do? And I think it really, really hit me. Like, what made me go all in is that I think that I want to be an entrepreneur in the fact that I don't want to work for anyone else. I think I can do my own thing and really just send it and go for it. And ever since then, it's been my main plan.
Cool. Now, not only for the listeners, but also myself here, I'm asking, what is the biggest difference between trial riding and from like a typical dirt bike riding? Because that's what I'm thinking of right now is like just a standard. I'm thinking of like, the races that you see with the dirt mounts. So what exactly is the difference?
Yeah, so this is a great question. Not many people probably know what trials motorcycles are, but yes,
Hmm.
there is a pretty big difference between the two sports. So number one, like in regular dirt bike racing, your main goal is to get to the end of the race as fast as possible first. In trials, it's a totally different topic or a totally different idea of how you do so. And instead, it's more about balance and control of the bike. So what they do is the facilitator set up a course. There could be rocks in the course, and when I mean rocks, I don't mean like a little pebble. I mean a boulder. Like you have to hop on the thing.
Good
It's
Lord.
pretty crazy. Yeah. It's like boulders, benches, walls, all sorts of things, stumps, anything that makes something hard to get over. And your whole goal is to get through the course without touching your feet to the ground.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. So yeah,
Like an
definitely not
Yes.
like
obstacle course
it's more
for a
about
dirt
like
bike.
agility and like kind of mental more than just like you said with dirt bikes, it's just
Yes.
speed. You want to be the fastest one to finish.
Right,
That's
right.
really cool.
So yeah, so in this side of things, it's you have to have an incredible control over the bike, but it's in a different way. Like clutch control is something that's huge in the sport. Whereas like regular dirt bike riding, you have to have clutch control, but here you have to like pop the clutch in very like uh calm and controlled manners in order to get over things and do different techniques to get over things. Uh, and the way the sport works for scoring wise, I don't think I mentioned that, is instead of getting there right, just the fastest, it's demerits
Mhm.
based. So not only do you get demerits for touching the ground, but sometimes, depending on what competition you're in, for touching your skid plate to objects and doing other things that are kind of weird. It's kind of like I don't know, golf where the scoring is backwards. So you have five chances to do things wrong, right? So you have five things, and then you exit the course if you did five things wrong. But other than that, it's whoever can get the least amount of things wrong throughout the course.
Yeah, you're right. It kind of is like golf, where like you honestly want like a lower score because that
Right,
means that
right,
you did the less amount of things wrong.
right, right. Exactly, exactly.
That's really neat. Yeah, I don't actually think I've ever heard of trials riding before this, so that's really
I
cool.
definitely haven't. This is fascinating.
Yeah, because
Sounds
like
Do
I
you
said,
Yeah,
It's reminding me of those TikToks when you see the person going down like the very large mountain on their bike and you're like thinking that
I'm
they're gonna
stressed the whole time.
yes, you're so
yeah,
stressed the whole
I'm
time.
stressed for them. They'll go
I
to like a
yes,
really
exactly.
narrow spot, and I'm like, ah! Like I'm
Or
there
it'll be
getting
like a
nervous.
fast turn and there'll be a tree and it's like, "Yoo!"
Yeah,
Oh, it
I'm good.
stresses me out. Do you remember a moment when you were riding where it transitioned from your hobby, Jackson, to something like you wanted to build your future on? I know you were talking about senior in high school, future plans, but what really was that defining moment where you're like, I ride trail bikes, I think is how you
Trials.
guys have been saying it,
Trials.
Yeah, trials. Yeah.
to trials, sorry, excuse me.
You're good.
To this is gonna be my career. I'm gonna make a living and support a family this way. What was that moment?
Well, I guess what's weird to me though is crazy that there wasn't one singular moment. I actually don't know how else to describe that. It's been like I wouldn't say in the planning necessarily, but it's been a pretty smooth ride. It wasn't just like a bam, it happened, right? So, I mean, like I said, I've been riding since I was a kid. Another huge help to this decision was a friend. He got me into trials bikes specifically. His name's Alexander, and he's the one who showed me this world that I've never seen before either. And going through and riding and thinking, okay, well, this is a cool sport, whatever. But now it's like the Fusion 360, which is the software I use, and designing things. It's been like inspiring seeing these people ride. Like Alexander, he's pro, he's nuts at it, right? And I'm okay at riding it as a hobbyist. But it's really inspiring seeing these people ride it. And then he talks to me every day. He's like, well, this could be better, and this could be better, and this could be better. And I love that. I love making things better as like the classical like engineering mind. I love that. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to make these things better, and here we go.
Okay, so exactly. So, were there any specific points? Like, what was the first piece that you were like, I wonder if I could 3D print that and that would make this run better, or I could make a run more smooth if I had this specific component to add to my bike?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I remember being on a call with him and asking him, like, hey, like, what do you think that I should make? And one of the first things that popped in my head and his head at the same time was a bar mount. So, like on a bicycle, like you have the bars, right? And
Hmm.
then it's what attaches those bars to the forks down that go to the tire. So the forks are the things that connect, right, the bars to the tire. This is the part that connects the bars to the forks. A little
Right.
confusing, but
I'm
makes
following.
sense.
I'm picturing this in
So
my head. This is helping.
okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. So this part, it's pretty regular part, right? Nothing special about. But the problem is that a lot of people are taller and shorter for their bikes, right? And also want their bike set up differently, like geometrically, compared to like how they sit or how they stand on the bike. So what they'll do is sometimes is they'll rotate their bars forward, and that gives them like a longer distance between where their feet are and where their hands are. But it also puts them down, which is no good. A lot of riders just want their handlebars forward. So what I designed, thanks to Alexander's idea and collaborating with him a little bit, is a part that allows for different adjustability in this. You can buy different models, is the idea, and it'll put your bars out further or in more compared to kind of what the style riding or what the rider wants compared to their size or arm length or this kind of thing. And that was probably like the biggest project I've done to this date that really like sent me into it being like a real possibility.
It's crazy the different challenges that you've faced and the way you're creating new parts to make them better, not only for yourself and with your friends' collaborative ideas. It's truly a testament to no ideas too big, in
Yeah.
my mind, anyway. What is your favorite part about the designing process? We talked about writing and the first part you've made, but obviously there's a whole nother world of creating and designing these different prototypes for the bikes. How does that work? What's your favorite part of that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have an idea, right? You have this kind of image in your head of how you want it to look. And then you put it to reality in a 3D modeling software. So I use Fusion 360 and you create it from a blank canvas. It's like drawing, but for people who think in numbers. It's kind of like the best way I could describe it, right? Because every action you make in the software is a dimension that you add to it. And like a shape that you add or subtract or modify or whatever by a certain specific number. And that's probably my favorite part is getting this like main idea modeled. So for example, in this first part, right, I was thinking, well, okay, well, we need to attach these 2 points, and you find the dimensions of the things you're attaching, you add them into the sketch, and then you got to figure out what shape you want to use. And rectangle makes the most sense. Add some here, subtract some here because you want weight reduction. And yeah, that whole process of going through and thinking of where this part needs to be structural, where this part needs to look good, and where this part needs to like have material, not have material for weight, is by far my favorite part. And going in, designing that, and like actually clicking the buttons and making it like look real on a piece of software.
And here, I feel like a lot of people listening to this might be wondering, like, how does this necessarily connect to FFA? And I think, at least for my perspective, I'm thinking you were kind of doing these trial bikes and you're like, okay, I like the idea of doing this entrepreneurship. Is that when you immediately thought, okay, I can make this an SAE? Or was there a completely different vision of how you got there?
No, actually, yeah, it was kind of spontaneous. Like, oh, this could absolutely be my SAE. That's actually a pretty good guess. I think it's pretty spot on. But another thing FFA's done for me for sure is as a backing. So learning about machining and like the skills required, like 3D modeling software, learning all that was from a job I got, and I will say this all day through FFA. So Epic Bait Molds is a place I work at right now, and they've taught me an insane amount. I worked there over the summer. They've taught me an insane amount about the skills necessary to really do what I want to do, and I got that job for sure because of FFA. I remember a class with my advisor and teacher then, Jeremy Jones, Mr. Jeremy Jones, and we did a mock interview in that class, and it really prepared me to get this job, which I very much needed to be able to learn these skills.
FFA has done so much for me in that aspect as well, Jackson. I'm a freshman in college, so I'm closer to your age, and I know that competing for different competitions, whether that's job interview or officer positions, having those skills that FFA gave you to put into your SAE or to your workplace propels you so far ahead. And you can tell the difference when you're talking to someone that's been in FFA and worn the blue jacket to someone that hasn't. Were there any like CDEs or LDEs that you competed in, Jackson, or was your love found in your SAE?
Funny enough, yeah, absolutely. There's some CDs and LDs I've done. First one was Tool ID. I remember that's what really got me kicking in FFA. It's what like, got my main group of friends in FFA. And we're still like buddies to this day, which is crazy. It's like 4 years later. That's nuts. But Tool ID was definitely a first. We competed regionally and got to state, and then we got someplace in state. I forgot. But next up for me was a big one. This is one that I've been competing in for the last, I believe, 3 years now. And it's ag mechanics, which kind of makes sense. I see all you
Yeah.
nodding your heads. Yeah,
Definitely
and
makes sense.
right, definitely makes sense. But it's what I love doing. I've always loved working on the dirt bikes. That's always been a big aspect, just as much as riding them, is working on them and doing things myself on my own dirt bikes. And these skills have helped me out with doing ag mechanics as a CDE, as well as my advisors obviously teaching me so much more stuff like welding aspects and some of the other random things you got to know. But yeah, I've competed in that for the last 3 years. I've gotten second place twice now. Last 2 years, second place in state. I'm gonna get first one day. And then yeah, and then I've gotten first in a sprayer calibration category one of the years. And then finally the other
Wow.
CD or sorry, LDE I've done is public speaking. This is by far the most confidence building one I've done. It's the most stressful one. It is by far the hardest but most well worth it one for me. I did it last year, extemporaneous public speaking, and it was a blast. It's crazy. You go in a room, you have 30, or you're given a topic, you have 30 minutes to research it, and you give a speech about it right then and there. 30 minutes later, it's crazy. It was an absolute blast, though.
It's so fun listening to an episode like yours, Jackson, because I feel like it really does break through that barrier of what people think FFA is. Because, you're not here talking about how you were raising crops or how you have this livestock. It's literally, you're like, yeah, I grew up on dirt bikes the trial bikes. And I was like, let's turn this into a business and using the entrepreneurial skills from FFA to help build that. Because FFA's helped you also, I believe you got awarded a grant. So what did that allow you to do? Or like maybe what was like a first purchase you bought with that money to be able to expand this SAE?
Yeah, I remember being so happy when when I received that grant. I was like, "Oh, let's go!" Right? And yeah, so one of the for sure. So one of the first things I got was I think some material and tooling to be able to actually like physically make my first product or first prototype for the product. And this was a huge hurdle for me. So I've been machining stuff for probably like 2 or 3 years now, but till then, which was like a year ago, I've never actually like programmed something myself. It's a huge hurdle because it's like it goes from sitting the button on the machine and like knowing what the machine's about to now you have to learn how to like type the numbers into the machine and program it and make it do what you want it to do. Uh, so it was a completely different level. And I remember that to this day. It was awesome.
It's so interesting that like the grant, I mean, there's so many great SAEs out there, but in instances, certain students might not have the resources to just take it that notch above. And it's so exciting that you got the help that you needed to propel your SAE forward, Jackson. Um, how did you get involved with 3D printing? Was it through your job? Was it through your grant? How did you access those tools to be able to make this a business?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really important question to ask. And it was actually from my dad a while ago. So when I was 7 years old, my dad came in the house and he's like, "I know you are interested in numbers and this engineering and sciencey stuff. Well, here's a piece of software that I found that seems interesting to me, and that you might like as well, called Fusion 360, and is the 3D modeling software that I still use to this day. And it's amazing. So since then, I've just kind of played around with it as I didn't have a 3D printer. I didn't have any way to make anything physical, but I modeled like little Legos and these kind of things and learned the skills to be able to use the software. But Fusion 360 then led me to think, okay, well, these models are nice. I can see it on my screen, but I want to touch it, right? I want to be able to like use it and do real things with them. And that's where 3D printing I think was the best option to me because it was either probably 3D printing or a couple other ways of manufacturing, but 3D printing was definitely the most accessible as a homeowner or as around the house. So yeah, absolutely. Fusion 360 to the idea, okay, I want to make something physical was by far the biggest thing that got me into 3D printing. And then for my first 3D printer, my dad's friend at work was giving his away, and I was like, "Yes, please, I will gladly take it." And it was a pretty roughed up 3D printer. I remember having to go through the firmware and going through everything about it and learning how it works to be able to make it work again. And then to this day, I still have it, but oh boy, that thing's a wreck. So I got a new one. And I bought this one that's over behind my shoulder right here. And that's the 3D printer I use to this day. It's a Bamboo X1 Carbon, and I love it.
Wow. You're one lucky duck to have
I know.
your
That's what I
dad
was
so
thinking.
involved and then the
Yeah.
coworker being like, "Your dude." Try
Yeah.
this. Might
I'm
not
just
work.
I'm just casually getting rid of a 3D printer. Would anybody like it? And it's like that
Ex-
worked out absolutely perfect.
Yes.
exactly.
It's
It
like your
really
dad.
couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah, your dad was like, I am setting Jackson up for ultimate success at 5 years old. He doesn't know it yet, but he's about to be the superstar ever, you know?
Right, right.
That's kind of funny. Well, what has been your biggest challenge with your SAE, Jackson? I can only imagine once you finally started fabricating um, different parts for the dirt bikes that it didn't always go as planned.
Oh boy, you couldn't be more right on that. So, I remember definitely one of the biggest challenge moments was again same bar adjuster, right? This is that first project that I'm never gonna be able to forget. But anyways, I decided that I need to make this thing physical. I want to make it out of metal, and I wanted to do it by using a process called machining. And for those who don't know what machining is, it's like taking a block. It's like kind of like carving. You take a block of metal, and a tool goes around and cuts the material to whatever size, shape, or part you want to make. And it's a huge machine. It's pretty cool, and it uses a bunch of things called tooling, and end mills and drills and these kind of things to be able to make your parts. Well, I went down there to a coworker's house to use his machine that he, again, very crazily let me use for a day. And I went down to make the part, and yeah, it didn't go as planned. I crashed the machine 3 times, I think, broke 3 tools that day, which are not cheap items. And but learned a ton. And so that probably like a week later, I reprogrammed the part, rethought the way I was machining it, and went back, and 13 hours later that day, machining the part, I did it, and it was a great hurdle to overcome, and was a huge stepping stone in the success that I'm going to be able to, or the skills that I'm going to be able to need.
Yeah,
The
definitely
perseverance.
hands-on. Like hands-on training and being able to get that kind of foot in the door of actually being able to physically do stuff like that, I'm sure only helped you with being able to build stuff and start thinking of what I can do from just this idea in my head to actually building something that's going to benefit these bikes in some capacity. So you spent it says here you spent the summers working in a machine shop in Anderson. What was that experience like for you? Was it the similar thing of just being able to get all like just soak up all that knowledge like a sponge and just kind of trial and error for yourself then?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Epic Bait Molds is the place. I mentioned it earlier, and yeah, absolutely. So I put my foot in the door there. They let me in, and the CEO of the place, he kind of took me under his wing and has been teaching me how to operate the machines, how to take care of the machines, and even a step further in showing me like, hey, these are some things to look for when buying a machine that I'm gonna have to do one day, and teaching me just not, I mean, how to program and how to use these machines, but which ones to buy, and going a step further. It's really been an amazing job uh, for me. Absolutely.
I'm sure those skills will transfer. And I know you have aspirations to own your own shop one day. Tell us about that dream and how you want to move forward with your plans on that.
Yeah. So as of right now, we are currently building the structure to contain the shop. We're currently building the shop, which is absolutely insane.
That's
So
awesome. When your SAE finally takes off and you're like, yes, I
right.
made it.
Right. So
That's
yeah, so
awesome.
it's gotten to that point, and so I'm investing a good amount of money now to start building a shop. We're gonna put concrete on the floor. I think December 3rd, 4th, yeah, 3rd, 4th, somewhere in there. And so it's like really crazy how real it's becoming. So next steps include obviously finishing up the building, and then after that, a pretty important one, and it's the biggest investment of the whole project, is buying the machine. It's a pretty big investment. These machines are used, which is probably what I'll buy. 20, 30 grand, which it's insane. Um, but it's an
Yeah.
investment that it's a risk I'm worth taking, or I think it's worth taking, and because right, I've modeled these things before. I think I know what I'm doing now, and getting on the social media and doing these media opportunities has helped me out a ton in practicing my public speaking ability, and like getting myself out there for other people. So it's next steps are yeah, for sure, building the shop and put a machine in it to really take it off.
That's so cool. That is crazy to think that you're a senior in high school and you're like, yep, and I'm just gonna buy this $20,000, $30,000 piece of equipment. No big deal. That's absolutely insane. But it's so cool. It's so great to see how FFA has been able to help you build this career out of an SAE and be able to do something so niche, I feel like, too. Because I mean, none of us had heard of the trial bikes before you were on this episode. And now I'm about to go down a rabbit hole of Google to look into it.
Yeah, I
How
hope
do
so. I hope you
you
do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I want to see one of these little events go on,
Mhm.
and see if there's any in my area. I'm about to try to go to one in person. um, how do you hope to be able to give back to the community, not only in the agriculture industry, but also with the trial bikes with this business that you want to build?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my biggest things is staying connected with the chapter. We have an alumni group that I hope to be a part of once I graduate, and still help out with the community in that aspect, as you know they do things all the time, and that alumni group provides scholarships for some of the students coming through the school. I think that's really, really, really important. As for the trial side of things, I'm going to contribute by making parts for people. I think that's a pretty great and simple way to answer that.
Mhm.
And I hope to make developments and really, really work with a lot of the people who ride. I want to be able to work with the customers. I want to be able to work with the people who do it, and for them to give me suggestions on not only what to make, but how to improve designs, what they think that what they feel is right for their bike, and really provide that kind of service for people to be able to really
So
make the sport and develop it.
So with your shop, do you want it to be like where someone comes in to you and they're like, Jackson, I want XYZ to happen to my bike. And you sit there and you brainstorm on how to do those things. And then you get to go back and work on creating that piece for the bike and things of that nature? Or is it more of a these are the pieces I make, these are the pieces I sell, and then individuals can come in and buy those like a typical parts store? Or is yours kind of customized to whoever comes in there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think the way I'm going to start is kind of a hybrid of both. So, I definitely want every design I make and finalize to be a part that I sell as a part, right? I have an inventory of them. I sell them online, and that's how it works. However, at the start, I also want a way for people to communicate to me about designs and suggestions of parts and these kind of things that I hopefully can make for them, but also sell as part of the inventory and help grow the business.
Yeah, I think that's a happy medium of being like, these are parts that I know from my experience in writing and also with the people I've already worked with that are like customizations people might want for their bikes, but then also be able to be like, but hey, if you've got a wild idea, I've got a 3D printer, so like let's make some cool stuff happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. Let's make some cool stuff happen.
Exactly.
Lacey just came up with Jackson's tagline for his
Right,
business.
right,
Let's make some cool
right.
stuff
There it is,
happen.
guys.
There you go. Well, Jackson, what advice would you give to an FFA member who feels like their passion isn't traditional agriculture like your SAE?
Yeah, well, actually, I feel like this is one of the hardest questions that y'all have asked so far, and by far, I think it's the one that is probably the most important. But I would say is number one, go with what you want to do. Find something that you love doing and send it. I mean, go all in, and however you think is the best way to do it. Grab some advice for people, learn the skills of how to do it. Keep your head down, keep working hard at it, and you can accomplish that goal any day.
Yeah, I think a big thing that your SAE really proves is instead of looking at the list of things and being like, I guess I'll do that, think of what you want to do and go, how can FFA help me with this? And then
Yeah,
just
yeah.
make it into something.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And to me, it's really important to understand that FFA is a lot more than agriculture. It's the leadership skills, it's the public speaking skills, it's the interpersonal skills. It's all these things that people really don't think about, and I think that's really, especially for me, helps the most in like deciding career, but also making your own career.
Absolutely.
It makes you be able to blaze your own path and figure out what your true passion is and whether FFA taught you about grassroots agriculture, about leadership, about public relations. No matter what path you found in your blue jacket, each experience in the jacket built you into who you are today and set you forward to be able to own your own business. Sorry. Well, Jackson, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Your journey has been so fun to learn about. I know I'm definitely about to run down a rabbit hole on Google learning about your trial bikes and more about 3D printing, and I hope to follow along more on your journey. And when you are big and famous and make the coolest trail bike ever, I'm so excited to learn more about it by blending your passion with entrepreneurship and moving forward. I'm so glad we got to learn about your journey beyond the jacket.